Welcome back to the Unlicensed Therapist on this stormy Monday afternoon. I'm sitting in my office and there is a thunderstorm going on, so if you happen to hear some noise, that's all it is. Today is a bittersweet episode. In the feeling that this is the last pre-planned episode that I had when I started the Unlicensed Therapist. The plan was 13 episodes, and it continued to grow, and this is the final pre-planned. This is the last of those from it growing, and the idea now has changed, as you can tell, to bring on some other people to talk to, but we're still going to have episodes like this one as well. I just wanted to say, for those out there who think that, oh, it's too much, I can't do it. Maybe you're thinking that about grad school, or you're finishing off your practicum or internship, or just getting a full caseload. I'm here to tell you that there are going to be times where it feels like it's so much, like you've made a goal that is unattainable. But when you break it down into those small steps, those bite sizes, again, going back to what would we tell someone sitting across from us in the therapy room to do? How would we tell them to cope and manage with that stress? How might we suggest that they be successful? Well, today, for me, is a sign of success. I did it. I set out what I meant to do, and I'm going to go further with it, and I'm proud of me. And that's okay. I'm allowed to be proud of me, and I hope that this is bringing you all some measure of education and even entertainment. So we started on this idea of pulling back the curtain on community mental health, and then we delved into group practices and pulling back the curtain there. Then we were so blessed to have Bonnie Popso come on and give us a bird's eye view of a career in community mental health. So we've got one thing left. We've got the private practice to look into, the fantasy that we all dream about, that thought that once I have those special letters after my name, I can hang a shingle up with my name and those letters after it. I can be my own boss. I can be the one that makes the decisions, and people will just flock into me. And I've done it. I've reached the goal. I'm a therapist now. I'm not only a whole person, but I am a full-grown therapist, and that means I get to set my own hours, and I can choose the clients I want to see rather than someone telling me who I'm going to see. And I'm practicing with full clinical autonomy. I pick what to charge and what I'm worth. And finally, most importantly, I'm feeling like the therapist I dreamed that I would become. And as someone who hasn't gotten that far, but is close to people who have, I can say that all of that, from what I've talked to these people, is true, 100%. But there are things that rarely get said out loud, things that rarely get talked about. Private practice is a freedom, but it comes with some pretty hefty responsibilities. There's risk. It's a business, and we have to remember, we don't get taught that in grad school. There's still ethics. It can be lonely because you're by yourself, but it's empowering. There's pressure. It's all of it, all at once. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the real private practice experience, the part that doesn't show up on Instagram or on those how I made $200K my first year in private practice YouTube videos. Oh, wouldn't we all love to do that? We're going to look at the grounded, ethical, sustainable truth about what it truly means to run a solo practice as a mental health clinician. Let's start with the part that shocks most new clinicians. When you go into private practice, you become two people. You're the therapist. Yes! You are doing what you went to school for. You are there and ready to help people, your people, all the people, any of the people that are right for you. But you're also the CEO. And what's the job of the CEO? Well, number one, it's not optional. It's not glamorous. It's not something that grad school prepared you for, and you don't get paid for it. This doesn't count as part of those billable hours when you're in the chair. What this is it ties back to the idea of being in community mental health or private practice where there were some tasks that were non-billable, that you didn't maybe get paid for. That number one thing, documentation. Well, documentation is still there, but now you have the job of the biller, the scheduler, the marketer, the bookkeeper, the IT department, the website manager, the customer service representative, the compliance officer, the insurance negotiator. I'm going to stop there because I'm getting so far ahead of myself. And you may be saying, but Matt, I can just hire someone to do those things. And you know what? You can. You absolutely can hire people to fill those positions. But I want you to remember when you were in private practice or when you were in that community mental health and you complained that you weren't getting paid what you were worth. You complained that while you were doing the face work, you only got 60, 70% of what was being billed, and the rest of it went to the practice, and they didn't need that much. Well, they sure do when it comes to hiring someone to do the billing, managing the website, crisis management, someone just to buy supplies and everything else that I've talked about. And we haven't even touched the other somewhat necessities. So let's just take a simple fee. Let's say $150 a session. Wow. I'm worth $150 for 53 minutes of my time. I am going to be rolling in it. I am going to be absolutely rich. I mean, if I do the math, and I'm only going to have to work 20 to 24 hours a week, this is a dream. But I need some place to work. And many insurances need me to have a physical location. So that means I'm going to have an office possibly. So there's the rent of the office. There's the utilities at the office that I have to pay. Or maybe you say, I am going to be purely telehealth and just work from home. Well, you're still going to have to pay your utilities from home, and some of those utilities may go up from the work that you're doing at home. There's definitely the need for some type of electronic health record subscription, some type of telehealth platform, liability insurance. Oh, you've got to continue your education for those CEUs. And if you're doing the marketing, you have to have not only web hosting costs, but you're either paying someone to create the website and monitor it for people who are clicking on it and looking for you, or you're doing it yourself. Someone's got to be doing the social media posting. So again, that's either you or you are hiring someone to do social media posts, going out in the community and handing business cards out to other medical professionals so that they can refer to you and you can refer to them. Credit card processing fees, that $150 is a dream, but if I'm not seeing you face to face, I'm not going to get the paper money. I'm going to have to get a credit card, which means that's going to come with the processing fee. So there goes a little bit off the top right there. You're self-employed, so taxes. All the taxes fall on to you. It's your responsibility. You've got to do it. Well, if you've got rent because you have an office and you have utilities, you can't just have an empty room for an office. So you're going to have furniture, decor, supplies. You're going to be able to print things, shred things, write, do different activities. All of your services are going to need to be HIPAA compliant. Accounting software so that you can keep track of what comes in and what comes out. I don't know about you, but money management was never my strength, so having an accountant or a tax preparer would be vital. Now, a lot of these things, just like us, are specialized industries, so we're looking at putting a good amount of money out. By the time you subtract all of those things from that $150 session, if you're lucky, you're netting between $60 and $80. And that's before taxes. Now, let's take 30% of that and set that to the side for taxes. So you're making under $50 at this point. But you have all those other wonderful things like autonomy. Now, the upside is that being autonomous, you do sort of get to make some of the rules. Things like, what is my counseling identity, and this is my niche. These are the theoretical orientations that I use. My ideal client is this. I work these hours on these days. You have to pay this much to see me. I get to create a cancellation policy as long as I'm not taking an insurance that says that I can't take a cancellation fee or dictates what it may look like. I get to set my own boundaries when it comes to how I engage with my clients, how I engage with other professionals, how I have a home-life balance. I create my workflow, the environment, the pace. I'm creating the culture of my business. There's no agency director, there's no CEO telling you to just squeeze in one more intake. There's no productivity quota, there's no pressure to take clients outside of your scope. And that's all great and wonderful. So, if I don't take in that one more intake, that's money that's not coming into my pocket. That's money that's not there to pay for the rent, pay for the accountant, pay for the liability insurance. If I don't set myself some type of productivity quota, it could be very easily that I go under quickly. Should I hold myself to the same standards as maybe community mental health or a private practice? That is totally up to me. Because in a private practice, I'm the boss. So that also means I get to decide, do I take insurance? Do I take cash pay? Do I take both? So insurance panels bring in a huge volume of people. People want to use their insurance or an EHR. But then you have to deal with getting prior authorizations before you can even start seeing someone, or you just risk working for free. The denials from an insurance company that they're not going to take you as someone who can bill their insurance, or someone stopped paying their insurance and didn't tell you, so they don't have insurance any longer. Certain insurances will come in and audit you. There might be lower reimbursements from different insurance companies because not every insurance company is going to give you the same amount of money for the exact same amount of work. Some may have more documentation standards. And oh my goodness, my current boss could tell you the story of delayed payments that would just curl your hair or make it fall out. I'm not sure. I am, when she shared it with me, I was shocked what can happen when it comes to insurance and payments. We're talking, not 1 month, 3 to 6 months sometimes before getting paid. Now, cash pay brings in higher fees right off the bat. It's you and the client. There's no one in between. So there's less paperwork, a lot more autonomy, but especially in this economy, a lot less referrals. People either have the money or they don't have the money. So it's also going to depend on where you're at. Where I live, doing a cash-only business would sink instantaneously. Where my boss has set their business up at, they're right on the edge of a place where a cash-only business one day could flourish. You're also going to have higher demands to market yourself. So if you look at it, neither the cash only or insurance only is a better choice. Both are purely business models. They both require some strategies. It's going to be up to you to decide which strategy is going to work best for you. So, how do I do that? Well, you do a breakdown of everything. You start with what will your monthly expenses be just to open your door? And then once you know how much is going to be coming out of your pocket, then you decide how much is it that I want to make. How many sessions do I need to cover a day, a week, a month to meet my expenses, to meet my desired income? Which means at what point throughout the month have I paid off my expenses and now everything moving forward, every session forward is totally 100% profit. When you figure out those numbers, those are going to be the things that will guide every decision you make. Because there's no one that you're going to be able to point at and say, I didn't get a paycheck, I didn't make enough, except for that person you see when you look in the mirror. When you go solo, there is one thing that you lose that I think people don't think about. The hallway consults. That stepping outside of your office as a colleague, a friend is walking past and saying, hey, can I run something by you real quick? Or having someone pop into your office and bouncing something off of you. Those team meetings where you get to have some clinical safety to hear from people who are more experienced. You begin to have experience mentoring those who have a little bit less experience. You lose the clinical safety net. And when you lose that, not only does loneliness set in, but the idea of an ethical drift sets in. And it can be subtle, slow, and oh so dangerous. You see, without peers around you to help keep you in check, or who may notice what you don't, it's a lot easier that those boundaries that you've set slowly start to creep just so that you keep the client happy. you start to really over-identify with individuals, or you experience countertransference and there's no one there to bounce off of or ask you that simple, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Your scope may drift when you're looking at finances and you're thinking, I'm not going to be able to pay the bills, and here's this new client that really isn't someone I typically take, but I can talk myself into why I should take this person, even though at any other time you would say, oh, you're totally outside of my scope of practice. You may start to take some shortcuts when it comes to documentation. You're definitely going to experience emotional exhaustion and decision fatigue because you're the only one that is there to make those decisions. Everything is being dropped on you. So what can you do? I can tell you what I've done, and I'm not even in a private practice. I've created my own built-in consultation group. People that I can call, people who call me out of the blue, and we can bounce things off of each other. And for me, some of these people are licensed, some of them aren't licensed. I normally call 2 or 3 people when I'm having an ethical dilemma or just, questioning myself to get the idea from a few people from their perspective. What I haven't done yet is set up monthly meetings with them to see if that's possible, to make sure that there's some diverse specialties involved. Yes, they pretty much share my values, and they're pretty much available for my urgent calls, and those are important things also to keep in mind, that these are people that when they see your phone number that they're going to pick up and know that you may be in a bit of a crisis yourself and want to be there for you. You want to treat consultation as seriously as documentation is treated. It is a major part of ethical practicing. So if we go all the way back into season 1, we talked about imposter syndrome. That point when you're not alone, but you feel so very alone that even the easiest case, the case that you can do in your sleep, feels so overwhelming. Well, in a private practice, you are alone. So that imposter syndrome setting in again, now later down the line, is so real. As you begin to think, oh, am I doing enough for this person? Am I doing enough for myself? Am I doing enough for my family? Did I miss something? Should I refer this person out, or should I keep them? I mean, referring them out might be better for them mentally, but financially it's really going to hurt me. What should I do? Is this countertransference, or is this me listening to my body? Is this intuition? Am I even any good at this? All these questions come piling through your mind, and that's where that supervision, that consultation becomes so important. You may even want to pay for peer supervision. For me, I'm still in group supervision, but I also have my own counselor that I see. So I get the best of both worlds. But it's in my group supervision, and where maybe you would want to seek out a peer supervision group that you might have to pay for, that you could process things like countertransference, that imposter syndrome feeling, those questions of should I refer out, challenges you're having with blind spots, keeping you accountable, maintaining your clinical sharpness, and most importantly, protecting your mental health. Now, let's touch on one other thing. Most states do not allow pre-licensed clinicians to operate a fully independent solo practice. You need a licensed supervisor, a formal supervision agreement, oversight of clinical work, a structure that meets board requirements, and that typically means community mental health, a group practice, some form of agency, hospitals, schools. You're working for someone else, not yourself yet. Those environments, they provide you with hours, supervision, experience, and exposure of a wide range of different issues so that you can continue to learn and grow and see what type of therapist it is that you truly want to become. Solo practice, private practice is a great post-licensure goal. But it should never take place before that. Clients who choose solo practitioners often value that they get consistency, specialization, a personal connection with that individual, stability, autonomy, and privacy. They know exactly who they're working with, and they're not having to navigate a larger system. They don't have the fears of someone leaving the practice because you are the practice. It's your identity, your approach, and your presence that brings them in. All they've got to figure out is working with you to what to do when you're not available. What are the rules for those after-hour emergencies? And when you're on vacation, who do I go to? And that's something, again, as a private practice owner, you've got to figure out. So how do you know when you're ready to go into solo private practice? I would love to say it's as soon as you have that license. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. It's when you can clinically hold complex cases, when you can manage crises ethically, when you can maintain your boundaries, when you're able to self-regulate on your own, when you have the knowledge and wisdom and foresight to run a business, when you can tolerate uncertainty, but most importantly, that you've learned that you can ask for help. Solo private practice, it is the dream for many therapists. And it can be so beautiful, it can be liberating, it can be deeply aligned to your calling. But freedom demands discipline. Autonomy demands structure, and independence demands community. I can remember working for an organization that worked with individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities and teaching those individuals the importance of advocating for themselves. And it was always, I'm a grown adult, I have rights, and I can do certain things. And our response was always the same. You're exactly right. You're an adult and you have the rights to do certain things. But with rights come responsibilities. So, if you choose the path of a solo private practice, that is your right. But it is your responsibility to go into it with clarity, to provide yourself with a support network, a consultation network so that you can maintain your ethical grounding, to have business awareness, and a commitment to a lifelong learning. Because at the end of the day, we're all still unlicensed in the sense that we are always growing, always evolving, always learning how to be better clinicians and better humans. Subscribe to The Unlicensed Therapist. Hit the like button, hit the subscription button. Our deep dive into this subject, I hope you enjoyed. If you have ideas for further podcasts, go to theunlicensedtherapist.podbean.com and leave a message on our website. If you want to be a guest here, please leave a message on the website. Share this episode with colleagues who are dreaming of hanging their own shingle. Reflect on what kind of therapist you want to become and what environment will help you grow into that version of yourself. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing this work. I look forward to this continued journey with you as I have people lined up to interview on a lot of different topics, and hopefully we'll have some more episodes like this as well. Take care, and we'll talk again next week.